Welcome to Chinuch at Home number 51. Thank you, Yeshiva Darchei Aliyah in Flatbush and Chazak and TorahAnytime.com for your sponsorship. Here's an important question. How do I help my child master Kriya? We know that Kriya is crucial because the text-based system that the yeshiva world is based on text, and therefore, if a child's not reading accurately and fluently, there's a lot at stake over here. So I'm going to make the following claim, that the essential language acquisition is extremely simple. It's not complex, and it doesn't need to be complicated. The essential two components of a skeletal definition of Kriya is shapes and sounds. End of story. What's the parish on that? Put the word shapes and sounds under the microscope and magnify it somewhat, and what will you see as the definition? Very simple. Shapes means that the child clearly distinguishes between the shape of one ice and another, both in language, any language, Hebrew, English, and the sound that that letter makes as its starting sound. B, 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 bass, g, gimel, d, daled, l, lamed, nun, etc. The sound of that first letter, and of course the nekudos, which you can argue is similar to the isis, it's just a symbol. That's what the word ice literally means. Ice literally means a sign. It's a sign to the brain of what to pronounce with the mouth, and there's complicated parts of the mouth, your teeth, the tongue, the roof of your mouth, and your lips, etc. There are different shapes your mouth is able to make in order to articulate the sound of a letter, and it's blending with a nekuda, with a vowel. So what really is taking place is the following. This is where children need time to graduate from making a connection between this symbol, ice, shape equals this sound. So for example, a child at 3 years old, which Chazal tell us is the time to introduce to Isis, Ben Shalosh Shanim, actually Shalemim, 3 full years, which really means 4 years old, but we start at 3. But really the kid can go all the way till Ben Chamesh Shanim. Lemikra, they don't need to be reading till 5 years old. Small print, Ben Chamesh Shanim Shlemim, really goes to 6. Im chalash b'datai, and if the child is weak in his mind, which does not mean unintelligent or slow or stupid or dumb, has v'shalom, it simply means chalash, weak. Like a muscle that's weak, you flex it, it gets stronger. The weakness that we're talking about b'dasai in his mind is very simple. He hasn't finished flexing that muscle called the connection between the shape of the letter and the sound it's supposed to make. It's really simple. So a child at 3 years old has hundreds of words in their vocabulary. They're talking sentences. They recognize table. They recognize book. They recognize daddy's face, nose, glasses, chair, hands. There are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of vocabulary words the child has in his brain and pronounces correctly with his mouth. The leap that we're making when we introduce language to children through reading is huge for some kids. And why is it huge? Very simple. Because when you show a child that the letter D, Dalet, followed by a G, Gimel, and underneath the Dalet is a Kametz, which is a sound, and now it's dog, or in Sephardic, dog. So what ends up happening is a child is going to say, no, I know what a dog is. A dog is a fish. If you show the child a table and then you say table is a table, some children will say, this is a table. That's not a table. How's that a table? It takes time for a child to recognize that this ice sign is a sign to my brain to pronounce the t sound. A, b, l, table. D, g, dog. So that's a period that Chazal gave us of between 3 and even up to 7 years old. We do not have the luxury of time in a factory-based system where we've got to keep moving the kids along the scope and sequence, but I'm just sharing as an insight what Chazal told us is the emergence into language. It's not a sudden acquisition. The child needs time to fully process this shape equals this sound. So what we're going to do in the next session, and we're only doing a few sessions on this, but it's crucial because when you understand this is what your kid may be struggling with, or your grandchild, or your own student, this is going to simplify how I can take away any judgment I have of the child being slow or disabled in reading or some other delay in a function of literacy. It may not be that at all. It may simply be that the child has not fully mastered the shapes of the different letters that are similar. Mem and Tes are similar. Nun and Gimel are similar to some children. End of Nun and Vav are similar to many children. They haven't finished discriminating the subtle distinction between one ice and another, and the sound that is associated to the Nakuda, the vowel that is placed under or inside or on top of that letter. That's all it is. It's sounds and shapes. That's all you have to focus and help the child. So what we're going to do is going through what we call the knowledge map. There are 10 steps. We're already up to number 3, which is blending. So we've got Suras Ais, the shape of the letters, the Nakudais. Once they've mastered those two, they're ready to blend. And once they can blend, they're able to graduate into reading accuracy and fluency, which we will talk about tomorrow. God bless. Kol Tov.